This is a subject that I could speak for a very long time about because I try to practice this every day, and sometimes, sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't go so well, right? I mean, we have our experiences, and those experiences happen in this realm that we call, I don't know, life, 3D reality, whatever. I like to think in Star Trek terms, so I'm sort of like, here we are in this hologram, But, so anyway, when I was preparing for the lesson, of course it shifted because of all the events that happened, between the last time I saw you and now. And I thought, well, let me just think about that lesson in terms of what's going on. And as I was reading other material, I found two more passages that I want to read to you that really dovetail with what we're talking about. I'm going to read the lesson 268 from A Course in Miracles, and then I'm going to share the Serenity Prayer with you that actually really dovetails beautifully with the lesson. And I don't know if you know this, but I didn't know this. When I looked up the Serenity Prayer, just, the 4 lines that we usually say, there's a whole nother verse after that. I don't know if you knew that or not, but it's really, really cool. So I want to share that with you, and then I want to share something from a psychologist by the name of David Rico, who sums it up very nicely, I think, and specifically about this particular time and these kinds of experiences that we go through. So let me start with the lesson from A Course in Miracles, lesson 268. Let all things be exactly as they are. Let me not be your critic, Lord. Let me not be your critic, Lord, today and judge against you. Let me not attempt to interfere with your creation and distort it. So when I'm interfering with God's creation, I'm distorting it. Let me be willing to withdraw my wishes from your creation's unity, and thus to let your creation be as you created it. That's a novel idea. For thus will I be able also to recognize myself as you created me. For in love was I created, and in love will I remain forever. What can frighten me when I let all things be exactly as they are? Oh, only reality is free of pain. Only reality is free of loss. Only reality is wholly safe, and this is what we seek today. Wow. So give me some of that reality, yeah? No, really. But, I mean, I want to make 3 points about this that I think carry through the other 2 texts that I want to share with you. And the first one comes from the line of my song, I don't know what anything is for. I mean, we're sitting here in our ego realities and we're having our experiences, and really I'm not discounting any experiences that we're having. They can obviously be frightening and destructive and all kinds of things. I mean, there's all kinds of things that happen in our lives. And just this morning I've heard stories about things that have happened here in our community, and blessings and love on everything that's going on. I know that God will provide a way for all of us to accomplish what we need to accomplish. But there's got to be something bigger than all of these experiences. That's why we're here, to affirm that the mystery of life that we call God, that we call good, is bigger than all of it. And we don't necessarily know the big picture, and we don't necessarily know what everything is for. So that's the first point. I don't know what anything is for. And the second point is, if I'm able to withdraw my opinions about what's going on, then I'll be able to recognize my true self as God created me. How did God create me? He created me in love, and in love will I remain forever. If I was created in love, that means you're created in love. And that means all of life is created in love. And that makes us one. And I really liked you sharing about oneness and speaking about oneness, because as we begin to recognize that we are one with all life, not just each other, but with the planet Earth. Mother Earth is cleansing herself. She's righting herself. She's not taking revenge on us. I use the personification of a she, but what's happening is what's happening. It's just what's happening. And as we were preparing for the storm at our house in Brooklyn, we decided to take this viewpoint. And we, at first, were not prepared for the storm because, who's prepared for a hurricane in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn? You know what I mean? Like, we don't really prepare for those kinds of things. So, the mayor was saying go out and get everything and all that. And so I did. I went out and got batteries and food and things, and, we were completely aware that we might be without electricity, as some of you had been. And what we decided to do was light a candle and address the storm itself and say, I acknowledge your power. I'm one with you, and I know that you're not coming my way to destroy me or to, do something to me personally, but that the power of Mother Earth is balancing herself. And we just happen to be in the path of that balancing act, So that's what we did. And we experienced what we experienced, and we all experienced what we all experienced. And now we're here together. And I think that's really powerful. And those that need our help in this 3D reality, let's see what it is that is ours to do in that path, right? Let's be open, take our opinions out of, this shouldn't have happened, why did this happen? Why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to her? I wonder if we can step back from that and just listen to the still small voice within that guides us on our particular path and say, what is it for me to do? And what can I do? I know we were collecting goods, and Staten Island got hit really, really hard, and that's where we are almost. We're at the Verrazano Bridge to Staten Island. So our neighborhood was collecting goods and sending help, physically going over to Staten Island and helping people dig out and bring them food and clothes and water. So that's what we can do. That's the thing that God is telling us to do. We're listening to our still small voice, and we're taking the next step. And I think we were able to hear that when, this is for me, I'm able to hear that voice so much better when I take my opinions out of it. No, this shouldn't happen, I know it shouldn't happen. And it feels frightening. But if I can take my opinions and step back a little bit, take them out, and step back and listen for what's mine to do, then I feel like I can do it in peace. I feel like I can bring peace to others that way. So that's the second point, being able to withdraw my opinions, and as I do that, being able to recognize who I really am and who you really are, that we are one and that we are created in love. We are brothers and sisters. And the third point is that experiences can be frightening, but the lesson says only reality is free of pain, reality is free of loss, and reality is wholly safe. So reality, then, according to A Course in Miracles, is never frightening. So what's the difference between what's going on in our experience and what the lesson is saying is reality? That's the bigger picture. That's the invisible. David Friedman said something to a friend of mine lately that really proved the power of the invisible to me. She was completely stymied, and she shared this with me. She was completely stymied about getting a job or even applying for a job or anything at all like that. And he helped her identify, what was going on in her body and what the experience was for her, the frightening experience, and helped her identify, the sensations that were happening in her body. and how she had attached that to a meaning of fear and immobilization and not being able to move forward. And he told her, what if you change that thought? And you know what he suggested for her to say, which has been working for me gloriously, thank you, David, is, this is what it feels like to be successful. Now that's really interesting. I know that sort of sounds odd in the face of what's going on, but that propelled her to recognize that what she was letting stop her from moving forward from what she knew was hers to do was not the big reality. That was not the larger reality. That was only her experience in this 3D world. And it was real enough. It was certainly stopping her from doing what she had to do. But as she began working with this thought, this is what it feels like to be successful, she began, and now she sent me an email earlier in the week telling me that things are much better for her and that she's out and at least interviewing now for jobs where she couldn't even, you know, step out the door before. So to me, that's a correlation here between what reality is and what we experience in our 3D worlds. Our experiences are really amazing sometimes, and I think that's what we came here to do, is have these experiences. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to say, when I'm frightened, I'm going to say, this is what it feels like to be successful, and I'm going to move forward. And I'm going to thank God, and I'm going to thank David for that one. So, as we move on, I want to share with you the Serenity Prayer, because I think it dovetails with what we're talking about. Let all things be exactly as they are. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Amen for that. So there are things that we can change. On our path that is ours to do, our life affects other people's lives, right? We all know that. So it's not like, you know, we're stuck in this never-ending loop of, you know, frightening experiences. No, that's not true, and that's not what the lesson is saying that we should be doing. But we have to have the wisdom to know what we can do and what we can't do. You know, I was thinking, when the storm came, I was thinking, you know, Jesus stood in front of that storm and said, peace be still. Why can't I do that? You know what I mean? Well, maybe I can someday, you know? But I'm not at that point right now. That's not mine to do right now. So I'm going to pray for the wisdom to know the difference between what I can change and what I can't change. Now here's the next part of that, which I thought was really cool. And this, you know, this is Christian language. There's some Christian language in here, so don't get spooked. But listen to this. This is cool. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace. Accepting hardships as the pathway to peace. Taking this world as it is, not as I would have it. Trusting that God will make all things right if I surrender to His will. That I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy in the next. Now, I'm going to claim that I can be supremely happy in this life, all right? That's my point. We know we have this, you know, faraway heaven thing, but that's not what I'm talking about. So, I really like this, though, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace. To me, that goes back to David's thing about feeling what you're feeling, but how about substituting a different meaning, you know, for that feeling? I really like that. This is what it feels like to be successful. Wow. In the face of hardship, this is what it feels like to be successful. All right, I just really like that one. And as I have moved through this week, I really thought every day about let things be exactly as they are and what that means to me and what it is that's mine to do. And it doesn't prevent life from happening. It really doesn't. We were standing in the Grand Central waiting to get on our train, and Glenn didn't even hear this because he had his earphones on, right? And some of you saw me come in earlier, but these days I've taken to wearing a robe that looks like a friar tuck kind of robe, but it's just, I love it, it's comfortable, it's my outerwear, you know, I don't consider it drag or anything like that, you know. I'm just, you know, wearing this robe, and it's long, and it has a little belt and a hood and everything. And so I'm standing there, and this woman comes walking up to me, and she goes, "Freak!" And I'm like, I'm just sitting here being myself, you know. And I'm like, wow, now that's interesting, because a lot of times I think when I do this work, when I reach for my tools, that it's going to prevent me from having experiences, right? Bad experiences or experiences that I don't like. And when she came up and said that to me, you know, it took me on a trip about, you know, years of people calling me names and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And what I really wanted to do was run up to her and say, "Oh yeah, who's a freak? What do you mean?" You know, that's what, you know. But I withdrew my wishes, I withdrew my opinions, and I stepped back for a minute, and I thought, well, I don't know what anything is for. I really don't know what she's going through, you know, or what she's seeing in me, or what that robe resents to, exactly, what does it represent to her? You know what I mean? There's no telling. So it took me a minute when I got on the train, because that was a big experience for me, actually, and it took me for a minute when I got on the train. I had to lie down, and Glenn didn't know what I was up to. But I had to lie down. And so, you know, it's just all to say that we have our experiences, and sometimes they're great, and sometimes they're just not, you know. But I don't know what anything is for. And if I withdraw my opinions about it, I'll be able to recognize who I am and who you are, and then I can experience the reality that's never frightening. That's my point. So I want to end up with reading this little piece from David Rico from a book called Everyday Commitments, and I hope you'll like this as much as I do. I think it's really, really, really cool. More and more I say yes to the givens of human life. Everything changes and ends. Things will not always go according to plan. Life is not always fair or pain-free, and people are not always loving, honest, generous, or loyal. This practice is simple and profound, cultivating an attitude of yes. Yes is a choice to honor reality just as it is. It is not resigning ourselves, but reconciling ourselves to reality. That is, aligning ourselves to it. Such freedom from illusion and wishful thinking is a form of enlightenment. We do all we can to change the things that can be changed, and then we accept what cannot be changed. As we practice the unconditional yes, we notice that we no longer ask why or why me. Now we simply say, yes, now what? Then the things that happen to us reveal themselves to be the necessary ingredients of our personal evolution, the factors that make us people of depth, character, and compassion. And so I honor you, my friends, my dear mighty companions, because you are people of depth, character, and compassion. And I love you, and I'm one with you.